Today, I'm doing a major follow-up, an update to another video you should probably watch first if you haven't already. But the topic is Sonic X being picked apart and elements of it being chosen by the Sega deities to become canon in the mainline Sonic game series going forward. But since the release of my initial research, putting all this information together, there's been a lot to come from the story to cover and address that I think is important for all of you to hear and might significantly change how you view the validity of this story, as there's a lot of new info and I think some really good points here to cover as we go through this whole video. So no long plug, just drop a like to help more people see this info. Double check you're subscribed, as my videos are always bangers and they're always evolving and changing, sometimes backwards. Like apparently people didn't like the shaking raccoon as I talked. Okay, no more quick movements. Okay, I get it, guys. Oh, and bell to all so you don't miss one of these banger uploads. And with all that out of the way, let's now get into the updates and more info regarding Sonic X merging into the mainline canon. So one thing I saw a lot of people get misconstrued is that in terms of Sonic X becoming canon, for the ultra literal talking about this out there, no, when I mention elements of Sonic X becoming canon, I'm obviously not referring to literally everything in the show becoming canon, but rather just the parts Sega cherry picks to add to the mainline game's universe and lore. And while the possibility of what they'll pick and choose to introduce is absolutely endless, the element that's almost certain to become canon, with all the hints Sega is putting out there, is Cosmo, someone who would finally give Tails a dynamic with someone else in the games that's not Sonic. I also want to quickly address the people who only saw the title and didn't watch the actual video themselves, and I'll keep it brief considering they probably won't see this either. But no, I definitely do not think Sonic X is returning as a show, but rather elements of it in the mainline game series either becoming acknowledged or even characters appearing tangibly in these games themselves. While I would love some Sonic X reboot or continuation, even an entirely different all-new Sonic anime, that is not what this topic pertains to, and whether or not anything that resembles that comes into fruition is currently entirely unknown. This is specifically about Sonic X returning, with story elements and characters from the series intertwining into the mainline games. Now, in the initial video on this topic, I covered the 20-year gap between anything, even the smallest acknowledgement of Sonic X, and all the different occurrences these past couple months, as well as the fact that Sega legally can do whatever they want with Sonic X, considering they have fully acquired the studio that created it, TMS, and now have complete ownership of the show, hence why a couple years ago, they uploaded the series to YouTube themselves. And to quickly run through what those recent acknowledgements are, first, there was an official Sonic Channel art piece featuring Cosmo in a pot in Tails' lap, with Tails' tube later featuring the same thing, but it being much more detailed to demonstrate that it's clearly the exact same one from Sonic X, even down to the text on the pot and loops around the top. Like, they've removed any sort of plausible deniability that it's just a potted plant. They made it so clearly Cosmo now. Then, to add to that, the socials put a super obscure Chris Thorndike plush hidden amongst a bunch of other ones, and he of all characters has never been acknowledged before this moment, so it's pretty significant to randomly see him there. However, one that I wasn't at the time aware of and was informed of post-release is that Sonic X Shadow Generations also featured Sonic X art, which Sega, despite owning the rights for a while now, has never used before this, something that they specifically had no elements of featured in the original Generations release. So to be in the recent Sonic X Shadow version, which while short, is still considered a mainline title. So to see Sonic X appearing there of all places, I also find very interesting, and again leads to indicate that there are overall some serious legs to this theory, and that references and elements of Sonic X really could appear in some way in this next title. Another thing I want to quickly address is an email a fan who ran the whole Save Cosmo campaign reached out to Ian Flynn, and Ian Flynn did respond. However, this was a bit older and relates to Sonic X being referenced in Frontiers, which as we all know didn't happen, but with how many other things they acknowledged and huge lore implications they made with like the Chaos Emeralds and everything, it would make sense to push Sonic X until a later date. You know, with sticks and everything, there's already a lot going on in Frontiers. But to go back to the email, Ian Flynn said he actually has tried to put Sonic X in, Sega just wouldn't allow him. But when you fast forward to today, Sonic X has a Blu-ray now. It was specifically acknowledged in Sonic Channel's Cafe Chaotix post, and the exact pot that Cosmo's in is appearing in Tails' tube. So there's a lot to indicate in recent times that things have changed, and obviously Ian Flynn's not going to spoil it. Hashtag knowing smile. So we probably won't get any more update about this until after release when it's tangibly in our hands. But again, I'm confident the chances chances of Sonic X appearing in this mainline title are at least 85%, maybe 90. Now moving on, one of the reasons we think the odds are high of Cosmo specifically being acknowledged was how Styx became canon in the mainline games via the Way of Frontiers. Something everyone said people were crazy for thinking could possibly happen. And then you look and the same people are now pushing the same sentiment, but to Cosmo becoming canon. And to make it clear, that happening doesn't make all of Sonic Boom canon, but does specifically make her canon, as well as anything else they reference from Boom in the future, especially if we see Styx tangibly appear in this next game too, as she would be extremely likely to make some references to that universe as well. Now, to cover a major point about the topic regarding Styx resurgence, I've seen a lot of coping and bad arguments around this aspect in particular that I think would be very informative to quickly cover and clear up right here. So, one thing people are arguing is that while she was referenced, she hasn't officially appeared in any official artwork since the end of the Boom era, in which case she had a couple of pieces officially from Sonic Channel, but this claim actually isn't true. Now, one instance I want to cover in particular is the holiday art from 2023 that included Styx, and the reason I'm separating that one specifically is because Sega then went and changed their mind, having Styx replaced with Blaze in the final release. And while many use this aspect to try and debunk the entire Sonic X canonization theory, I saw a very insightful Reddit comment, which I know, crazy, right? An insightful Reddit comment? Talking about how swapping with Blaze actually would make perfect sense as a decision, since you wouldn't want some random holiday art to be the way you reintroduce a character like Styx into the main series. However, art that did release was a Sonic Channel comic that featured Cream alongside Styx. And with Frontiers being the straw that broke, making Styx officially canon, us seeing her, and even Cosmo as well, are again extremely possible, as all the evidence and hints from Sega currently point towards that. But that said, the Cosmo we see will likely be changed and reworked, as like how Styx being canon doesn't mean all of Boom is canon, the exact same sentiment goes for Sonic X with Cosmo. With that being said, it's important to keep in mind that it's not confirmed 100% or anything like that, so do understand that there is a possibility that Cosmo's recent references will be nothing more than that, although it does question what exactly is canon if we see her exact plant pot appear in Tails' lab in a mainline title. Like, it would clearly mean she definitely was there and existed at some point, but what version of her and what exactly happened would be entirely unknown, with the only way of communicating that being sparsely in dialogue with Tails or through some sort of journal or audio logs, something that would be interesting to see. Now, moving on to the next topic, when it comes to news of this in particular, I think it's reasonable for someone who isn't ultra familiar with my track record to question this story as a whole, something that I'm seeing among the swarm of new viewers frankly hitting on this news, claiming that this is impossible, and even making up and getting debunked about stuff like Dick's not getting art when she actually has. But for those who are not ultra terminally online, Reddit basically hates everyone who isn't this guy, and the funniest thing to me is seeing the huge response to my video online, with most people who watched it surprisingly understanding that this is a theory and not confirmed or anything, as I would definitely say if it was, since it'd make a way better title. Yet I hear a vocal minority going, "The Sonic show is full of all he does is clickbaits and lies," which, while I do meme on the clickbait YouTube game a bit, I've also never lied, and actually still to this day have yet to put my faith in a single leak that was incorrect. A couple quick examples are the Sonic Colors Ultimate remaster I leaked that everyone initially said wasn't credible, or what about the Sonic Rangers one that described what became Frontiers to a T, but again everyone said was fake and clickbait, or the gameplay I showed for Sonic Toys Party, which became renamed the Sonic Rumble, and once again everyone said was fake gameplay made by fans or even a mod, when something like that would be literally impossible for a single person or even a small team to pull off, and Sega took down the video. In fact, they've taken down a handful of my videos because I showed stuff I wasn't supposed to, because it's clearly legit. Speedrun some others, the Sonic Generations remaster, and nobody believed Sega would do that. Or what about the new 2.5D game Sonic Team was making, which everyone said Sonic Team would never make, since Sonic 4 was such a failure. In fact, all of the Sonic games I've released since I started covering Sonic news, I've had an accurate leak on every single one. But yet, every single time without fail, kids with no attention span to actually pay attention to the video itself flood my comments and Twitter with, "This is so clearly fake," when every time, again and again, I've just been proven correct. And I'm not saying this to flex, I do promise, but it's just constantly people are questioning the validity of these leaks, and it's like, yes, I understand there's a lot of fake leaks out there. I'll either not cover it or say that I think it's fake when it is. But there's also a lot of real ones that have been super accurate. Like in a recent video I made, I covered a Sonic Sonic Heroes remake leak from Midori, who's constantly been proven correct, and a 5-year plan for Sonic that was found. And since we're 3 years into it, we can see it's all correct. But yet everyone's going,
actually, this is fake, Buster.
Like, the only way these people would believe it is if Sega came out on the official Sonic account and tweeted, whoopsie daisy, the leak is real. Which, why would they ever do that? And with this story, it's even funnier because most of the source is Sega themselves. So to tie it all back together, I really do think there's good odds we'll see Cosmo get the canonization treatment in these next couple years. And if you like the idea of that, or even this video itself, drop a like to help spread the news, and double check that you're subscribed to the bona fide most cool and handsome and tall and funny raccoon that ever exists in any galaxy around the universe. Follow my Instagram where I put stories of secret teasers of songs, funny things I think of, cool pictures, updates, informative, thoughtful stuff, and I vow to make one every single day of my existence. So drop a follow on the IG in the description. My Discord is epic, and I want to do Fortnite customs this month before the Star Wars season ends. So if a huge VC in Fortnite with tons of randoms, including me, sounds like it could be fun, go join there and make sure you turn @everyone's on so you don't miss that or anything major. Another video next week. The grind doesn't stop. 200K, ooh, I'm coming for you. And lots of love. Peace. Peace.